Alright guys, in this video we're going to talk about writing the equation of a function using the order of operations and identifying the opposite of the operation. So you can cross this off our notes, we're not going to be doing that, and you can also cross this one off, we're not going to be doing that just yet. Alright, so making a do-undo list is just one of the strategies that we're going to talk about. I personally like it the most. I just think it's the most organized and the easiest one to follow, but I'm going to be showing you another strategy in class as well. So the do-undo list requires that you can identify all of the operations that are in the original problem and put them in, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, order. So I can see here that I have a multiplication between the 2 and the x, and I also have subtraction. I'm subtracting 5. So according to the order of operations, multiplication comes before subtraction. So multiply first. The opposite of multiply by 2 is divide by 2. And then subtract 5. The opposite is add 5. All right, now to build the equation is really simple once you have the list filled out. So we start with just y equals x because we're writing the equation of a function. And we follow the undo list from the bottom to the top. And think of these like little building blocks. Whatever your next step is, builds off of what you wrote for the previous step. So far all I have is x. My first step says to add 5. And then that's telling me to divide everything by 2. That is my new equation. I'm done. All right, second example. I see a square root sign. That actually counts as an exponent step. You might not remember, but x to the 1/2 power is actually equal to the square root of x. When fractions are exponents, it means you have a root. There's an invisible set of parentheses here because I have the x plus 6 under the square root sign. So I do actually have an operation in parentheses. And then I have subtraction. I'm minusing 2. So the order of operations says the thing in parentheses is first. So first I would add 6. And I'll put a P there just so we remember that was parentheses. So the opposite is minus 6. Exponents comes next. The opposite of square root is to square it. I always put that with an empty set of parentheses there, and you'll see why when we go to build our equation. And then the last thing I would do is subtract 2. The opposite is to add 2. All right, so I start with y equals x, and I work my way from the bottom to the top. So the first thing I'm going to do to x is add 2. Now the reason I left those parentheses open is because basically what I have here so far needs to go inside the parentheses and then square it. And then after that, we minus 6. And we're done. That's my new equation. All right, down here, this is quadratic. So what you're going to notice with a lot of quadratics and square roots and some of the other functions is there's going to be this little inequality at the end. So the reason that inequality is there is because a parabola fails the horizontal line test, which means the inverse would not be a function. But that inequality is basically identifying the x value of the vertex. If you remember, this would mean right 4 up 6. So the vertex would be at 4, 6. And this is basically saying we're only actually using 1/2 of the graph. So if I ignore the pink, the blue part by itself passes. That's not going to affect how we do this problem at all. When we're going to write the equation, we can ignore that. That is only there because of how it relates to the graph. And right now we're writing the equation We're not trying to graph it. So I am going to notice there's some multiplication here. This is 2 times. I obviously have parentheses. I can see them this time. So I have an operation inside the parentheses. I also have an exponent. And then I am also adding 6. So please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Minus 4, the opposite is plus 4. My exponent is squared, so the opposite is square root. If my exponent was cubed, the opposite would be cubed root. 5, if the exponent was 5, then you would need to take the 5th root. All right, then multiplication times 2, the opposite is divide 2. And last, any addition or subtraction. The opposite is minus 6. All right, so again, we work from the bottom up. I start with y equals x. So I need to minus 6. Then I need to divide that whole thing by 2. Then I need to square root that whole thing. And then at the end of that, I need to add 4. And that is my new equation.